We open the credit card app again. The transaction history is familiar. No luxury, no impulse. We bought the cheap option. We bought it on sale. We bought only what we needed. And yet, the balance is lower than last month. We compared. We calculated. We chose the best value. The number in the account doesn't match what we expected. Something is wrong, but the math isn't the problem. This isn't a calculation error. It isn't a willpower failure. The price isn't the trap. The reaction is designed. The bait always looks free. The hook is never visible. That's why we bite. The belief that value-driven consumption is rational. Inside that belief, 3 hooks are hidden. Today we look at where those hooks are and who designed them. The global fast fashion market became enormous. It grew fast. Where did all those clothes go? The Ellen MacArthur Foundation has an answer. The number of times a garment is worn has declined, down 36% over 15 years. Worn once, then into the drawer, rarely a second time. The closet fills up, and yet there's nothing to wear. This contradiction is exactly how low-cost consumption operates. The cheaper we buy, the more often we buy. The more often we buy, the more we discard. The more we discard, the more we consume. This structure did not build itself. This structure doesn't stop at fashion. Appliances, furniture, food, digital devices. The same pattern repeats across every category where low-cost options exist. The more we buy cheap, the more we spend overall. 3 hooks produce this paradox. We pull them out one by one. The first hook, the unit price illusion. In front of a $1 item, we don't hesitate. When the unit price is low, the brain's spending guard falls asleep. When the guard is gone, purchase frequency rises. When frequency rises, total spending rises. Behavioral economics experiments reached the same conclusion repeatedly. The lower the unit price, the shorter the time people spend deciding. And the total number of purchases increases. When the unit price is halved, purchase frequency tends to increase by far more than half. When we buy one item at $5, we stop and think. When we buy 5 items at $1 each, we just grab them. Total spending is the same, for now. But the following week, we buy 5 more. By the end of the month, we've spent far more than the first scenario. Call it the drizzle effect. Drops too small to reach for an umbrella, accumulated, and suddenly everything is soaked. $1 items accumulate, and suddenly the account is empty. Low prices remove the friction of spending. No friction means no stopping point. The second hook, the poverty premium. The poorer you are, the more you pay for the same item. Economics calls this the poverty premium. The surface price is low, but total cost reverses. There are more than $30,000 store locations across the United States, more than McDonald's. The number tells us the scale, but what matters more is where these stores are located. Dollar stores concentrate in low-income areas. They often move in when full-service supermarkets with fresh food move out. The nearby store, the only affordable option. So people buy there. Not a choice, a decision inside a given set of constraints. Something worth noticing. A significant portion of new dollar store customers earn over $100,000 a year. As financial pressure spreads, the consumer base for this format is widening. Dollar stores are no longer only for the poor. But a joint report from the University of Bristol and the Joseph Rowntree Foundation measured something different. Low-income households spend approximately £490 more per year on the same items. Bought cheap, spent more. The reason is simple. Low-cost products break faster. When they break, we buy again. We buy cheap again, and they break again. This repeating structure is the poverty premium, not a consumer's mistake, the way the low-cost ecosystem operates. British novelist Terry Pratchett called it the boots theory. A wealthy person buys a $50 pair of boots and wears them for 10 years. A poor person buys a $10 pair and discards them in a year. After 10 years, the poor person has spent $100, twice as much as the rich person. This is not a problem of choice. It is a problem of available options. Without the initial capital to buy better, we become trapped in a structure that costs more, and that structure rarely opens itself. The poverty premium is not a consequence of poverty. It is one of the mechanisms that maintains it. The third hook, designed lifespan. 1925, Geneva, Switzerland. Osram, Philips, General Electric, AEI from Britain, Tungsram from Hungary. The world's largest light bulb manufacturers gathered in one room. The organization they formed was called the Phoebus Cartel. The stated purpose was technical standardization. The real purpose was different. Before the cartel intervened, the lifespan of a household incandescent bulb exceeded 2,500 hours. They created an internal rule. Maximum effective lifespan, 1,000 hours. Technology was not pushed forward, it was rolled back. The technology to build a longer-lasting bulb already existed. They created a rule that said it must not be used. When lifespan drops from 2,500 hours to 1,000 hours, consumers buy bulbs 2.5 times more often. That means revenue multiplies by 2.5. More precise was how the rule was enforced. If any manufacturer produced a bulb lasting more than 1,000 hours, a fine was imposed. Build a more durable product? Get penalized. Every major manufacturer in the world followed this rule. Consumers had no idea. The cartel offered consumers an explanation. Shorter-lived bulbs are brighter, more energy efficient. Not entirely false. But that was not why the 1,000-hour limit was set. Internal documents released later prove it. The cartel enforced the 1,000-hour standard through lifespan testing and fines. The Phoebus cartel dissolved in 1939, but the 1,000-hour standard they created remained the industry norm for decades. Practice outlasts law. And this design approach did not stop at light bulbs. Smartphones, charging cables, appliances, the very concept of engineering product lifespan spread across entire industries. A small experiment. Let's try it now. Look around. Among things bought in the last year, how many have already been discarded or broken? Add up what they cost. Now compare that total to what one better quality item would have cost from the start. This may not be misfortune. It may be a designed outcome. In 2015, France became the first country in the world to criminalize planned obsolescence. If a company intentionally shortens a product's lifespan, it faces up to 2 years in prison and a fine of 300,000 euros. Creating a penalty means the act was already happening. In 2020, Apple paid 25 million euros to France's Consumer Protection Agency. The allegation? Apple had intentionally degraded the performance of older iPhones through software updates. After the update, batteries drained faster, apps ran slower. So people bought new phones. Consumers who chose to keep their devices longer, the system blocked that choice. What happened when the same thing occurred in the United States? There was no federal regulation against planned obsolescence. Instead, consumers bought new phones. On one side, corporations are penalized. On the other, consumers open their wallets again. Same phenomenon, different outcome. Because the direction of regulation differed. When we look at this entire structure from a wider angle, it becomes clearer. OECD data from 2022 shows a distinct pattern in household debt as a ratio of disposable income across major advanced economies. United States, 110%. United Kingdom, 147%. France, 127%. More debt to repay than income earned. These numbers connect to consumption behavior. The more debt, the more price-sensitive people become. The more price-sensitive, the more they choose lower unit prices. Buying low unit price items repeatedly, total spending rises. When total spending rises, debt doesn't shrink. More specifically, this is how it works. When disposable income feels like it's shrinking, people shift to lower unit price products. Lower unit prices reduce friction. Purchase frequency rises. Total spending doesn't decrease. The more we pursue value, the more total spending increases. This paradox repeats. The reason this cycle is hard to escape is not weak individual willpower. The structure is designed that way. The fishing line is still wrapped around our wrist, and the one holding the line is not us. So what do we do? This is not an argument for buying expensive things. The suggestion? Stop calculating with the price tag. Start calculating with the calendar. The first method, shift the unit of purchase. A $10 pair of shoes lasts 3 months. A $50 pair lasts 2 years. Calculate the daily cost. $10 shoes, 11 cents per day. $50 shoes, 68 cents per day. The expensive shoe is cheaper. Economics calls this total cost of ownership. Not the purchase price, the actual cost across the entire period of use. The number on the price tag is only the entrance. Real cost is decided by the duration of use. When buying something, take out the calendar instead of the price tag. That shift alone changes the direction of the calculation. The second method, separate the desire to buy from the act of payment. When we want something, wait 24 hours. Impulse buying comes from an immediate brain response. The marketing environment is designed to maximize that immediacy. One-click checkout, time-limited deals, low stock warnings. All of these are devices that rush our decisions. There is one reason we're rushed. Given time to think, we're less likely to buy. After 24 hours, the reaction settles. Consumer behavior research shows that a 24-hour waiting period before purchase reduces unnecessary spending by approximately 30%. Not a willpower problem, a structural one. Slowing down the response time alone makes a difference. The third method, change the structure. In 2017, Sweden reduced the VAT on repair services from 25% to 12%. They changed the cost structure so that choosing repair became economically advantageous. Behavior followed. Mindsets did not change. The direction of cost changed, and choice changed with it. Teaching the fish to avoid hooks is less effective than regulating the hooks. From June 2025, the European Union mandated repairability scores for smartphones and tablets. When buying a product, a repairability score appears next to the price. The information structure changed, so consumers can calculate total cost of ownership from the start. A durability score beside the price tag redefines what value for money even means. France penalizing planned obsolescence. Sweden lowering repair taxes. The EU mandating durability ratings. These changes are environmental policy, but also consumer protection policy. Individual effort has limits. That's why systemic change is necessary. Some countries have already started. These three policies share one thing: not forcing consumers to make better choices, but changing the structure so that better choices become the default. When a durability rating appears next to the price tag, consumers automatically consider total cost of ownership without doing anything differently. When repair costs drop, consumers don't need to make extra effort to choose repair over replacement. When structure changes, behavior follows. Now, change the question. Not how can we buy cheaper, but why is this product so cheap? Not is this discount good for us, but whose interests was this discount designed to serve? Not how can we save money, but is this consumption structure designed in our favor? There's a saying, the smart consumer is the one who checks value for money. But if the standard of value for money itself was designed by someone, then following that standard alone is not enough. Changing the direction of the question is the real beginning. The bait always looks free. The real cost is never on the price tag.